Hello everyone, today is day 2 of our week on colour and style and confidence for midpoint for women. If you're catching me on YouTube, take a look back at yesterday's video where I explain a bit more about that and I talk about colour analysis. But today I'm going to get straight in there and we're going to talk about body shapes. So when you come for style, we use a style guide which is yours to keep, and we go through it and we look at style, personality and body shape, but also body shape, scale and proportion, and we find out all about you and you write in here, and it's your little Bible to keep and go home with. I'm breaking it down into 2 separate days here because style personality is really interesting on its own and we can get quite involved in body shape, and I only want to do about 20-25 minutes today. So let's have a quick look. Let me get my pages started so I don't forget anything for you. Right, so the first thing to say about body shape is that we can go away and we can have a look and think, oh, maybe I'm a pear, maybe I'm an hourglass. But realistically, when you look, there's about 7, it depends where you go, but there's about 7 different body shapes, which we're going to go through today. But there's more than 7 body shapes. There's probably 40 or 50 different types of body shape when you take into account a tall person and a short person, a long body and a short body, and all these other little features that about us that are different. And not only that, we can cross over. I'm sure Fiona won't mind me saying she's a rectangle. Rectangles, as you'll see, tend to not have much of a bust, but Fiona has a bust. So she's broken a rule of a rectangle, but she still fits into a lot of those rectangle suggestions and rules, if that's what you'd like to call them. So we really home in and each individual will really start to really break down and understand. You can take away some information from today, try and work out what you think you might be. But if you think you're, say, a neat hourglass, but something's not quite right, that's where working with the stylist would go in a bit deeper. And why do we need to know our body shape? Well, you don't have to, but if you want to feel more happy in yourself, more confident, if you want to find clothes that work on you and work together and feel comfortable and confident in those outfits, understanding your body shape means that you can understand which cuts are good for you. So for example, are you better in a wide leg jean, a skinny jean, a mid-rise jean, a high-rise jean? Jeans are one of those things that people often turn around and say, oh, I don't know what jeans suit me, you know. And there's so much option out there. There is definitely at least 1, if not 2, different pairs of jeans that should be in your wardrobe working for you every day. So let's go on and look at the different types of body shapes. Oh, other reasons why it's good to understand our body shape. It's not just the cuts, it's the fabric weight. Fabric weight, patterns, all these things can be applied in the best way to help enhance your best features instead of hiding everything when you understand it. So I'm not going to cut my video up today, so you'll have to excuse me if there are moments of blah blah blah. I should do some bloopers for the end of the week, shouldn't I? Right, let's start with what we call the neat hourglass. Straight in with the same as me, so I can show you a couple of examples of what I've said so far. So each page has all the information you need for each body shape. We've got what you need to be a neat hourglass or that body shape, your styling goals, looks to invest in, fabrics, the best fabric, best patterns, and things to avoid. So I'm just going to pretty much give you a brief overview of each. But to be a neat hourglass, we're looking at your shoulders, your hips, your waist, all these different areas. So to be a neat hourglass, you have to have your shoulders in line with your hips. So I don't know how well you'll see me on camera here because I'm not doing selfie mode. Hopefully if I come back you'll see enough. My head might be cut off, but here is a good example. My hips come out to here, and if I was to draw a line straight up, my shoulders are a tiny bit wider, but not enough. We'll say my shoulders are in line with my hips. And I come in at the waist. Not a lot, but I come in at the waist. So I come out, same sort of distance in here. My rule that's broken here is I have a bit more of that sort of bloated perimenopause belly. But the other thing to know about a neat hourglass is she has a medium-sized bust and she has a bottom. Okay, so when we're doing style, we're looking in the mirror together at all these things. So let's sit down. Styling goals for neat hourglass are, we can make ourselves look bigger in certain areas. So We're going to make our shoulders look bigger if we want to, with puffy sleeves and sleeve detail. We can make our hips look a little bit wider with peplums, pockets that stick out, details on the hip area. And by doing that, we're going to draw ourselves out here and out here, which is going to bring in the waist and make it look more narrow. So we can play with that. And actually, as a neat hourglass, you can get away with most things. The thing you do want to avoid if you're a neat hourglass is you want to avoid drowning yourself. So avoid baggy, bulky items, shapeless jackets. I've got some denim jackets which are cropped and they're boxy. And I can play with them and sort of make them work, but those boxy things don't really flatter the neat hourglass figure. So let me give you all some jeans as well for your body shape. So jeans for a neat hourglass are most jeans. Avoid the sort of boyfriend cut. You can play with the barrel jean if you're interested in your workout tomorrow with Style Personality. If you're someone who likes the barrel or not, why that is. And wide legs. You can take a wide leg jean. I love a wide leg jean. Next up, we have the full hourglass. So let me show you the pictures because they're quite good. Hopefully you can see the picture here of the neat hourglass compared to the picture of the full hourglass. So she also has her shoulders in line with her hips. She comes in at the waist, but she comes out more already and she comes in more. So there's a bigger distance between the widest part and the slimmest or smallest part, if you like. She has a bigger bust and a bigger bottom. She's voluptuous. So she doesn't need to make herself look any bigger. So her styling goals are going to be more a case of showing off those curves. You might feel like you're a big girl in some cases. I've had this with clients, and actually showing them that if they don't put baggy on and they go for slightly more structured fitted items, they show off those curves and look incredibly sexy. Think of Nigella, for example. So you can highlight the narrow waist using belts. The contrast of two colours, stopping and starting, will sort of highlight that waist there. And things like bodycon dresses, but trousers, jeans, boot cut, jeggings and feminine cuts. Soft and floaty is key. We'll talk a bit about that soft versus stiff fabric later on. Next up, we have our pear ladies. So I think so far you've probably recognised a lot of these terms of body shapes. To be a pear, you have a narrow shoulder line. So your shoulders are narrower than your hips. Your hips are wider. With a neat hourglass and an hourglass, often they will wear the same size on the top as they do the bottom. So it might be a 12 on top, 12 on bottom. Could be a 16 on top, 16 on bottom for the full hourglass. With a pear, they could quite easily wear a size 12 on top, but be a 16 on the bottom, which can make it quite difficult finding jumpsuits and dresses because they need to accommodate for the wider hip, but then you have excess fabric on the top. And a really good brand for these ladies is someone like Never Fully Dressed, or going out and looking for cords that are sold separately, because then they can buy something like the size 12 on top, they could buy the size 16 on bottom, piece them together, and if they're a cord, you can give the impression of a dress or jumpsuit, but they're two separate pieces tucked into each other, which is a great tip. So then we have the narrow shoulders, the wider hips. They are smaller on the top half. They still have a defined waist and they have boobies, but they're probably a neat to smaller size boobies on top. They can maximise the top half. So yesterday I might have mentioned that we can use colour to help make us look slimmer. Colour and pattern can play a part in where we choose to put these items in order to enhance and balance our shape and make us look and feel our best versions of ourselves. So often we resort to black if we're feeling a bit on the bigger side or we want to hide, and we cover up in big baggy things. What we're actually doing is making ourselves look like a big baggy black blob quite often, and that's no good for anyone. You deserve to look and feel your best selves. So no matter what your shape or size, and in this case with a pear, if she was to wear all the colour on top that she loves, if she was going to wear her best colour on top, maybe she's going to wear some pattern on the top, she can wear some puffy sleeves on top. What we're doing is we're making the top half look bigger, we're drawing our eye up. which means on the bottom half, which is already wider, we want to keep it darker and we want to keep it simple. And that doesn't mean resorting to black. It could be the black brown, it could be the navy, it could be the charcoal, a burgundy, whatever one of her best darker shades is would look better on the bottom. She wants to avoid pocket details, and as I think I've already said, so jeans are boot cut. So imagine we've already got all the pattern and the sleeve work on top. Then she comes in at the waist. She's already got those fabulous hips, and she comes down. A boot cut is going to finish that off really nicely, and other feminine cuts. Soft and floaty on the bottom is key. And as I said, I'll talk more about fabric weights in a minute. Do you think you're either a neat hourglass, a full hourglass, or a pear already? Drop me a comment below. Strawberries. Now, some of you might have heard of the apple and the strawberry. Others might have just heard of an oval. When I trained at Colour Me Beautiful, they just had the oval. Moving away from there and getting some new materials to continue on my path as a stylist, these actually are broken down into the strawberry and the apple, because the oval didn't really fit everyone in there. Some people weren't fitting quite right, and there's other options that sort of become more bespoke to them, like I said about colour yesterday, and that difference between the seasonal and the tonal colour analysis. Hopefully that makes sense and I'm not waffling on too much. So, the strawberry. Now they're kind of opposite to the pear. This time they're going to wear a bigger size on the top half and find they are smaller on the bottom half. They have a full curvy bust. I have ladies come with really, really large busts. They have wider shoulders than the hips, and they have a straight and neat rib cage down this lower part of the body. They have a curvy tummy. Don't we all? So these ladies are going to do the opposite. They're going to want more colour down the bottom, more pattern down the bottom. They're going to look great in a wide leg jean, a straight leg, or even a boyfriend cut, because they can be filled out at the bottom half more. Top half, we're going to keep it minimised. You can use things like a peplum detail, because that's going to give you more hip. You have less in the hip area here. So pocket details, peplums, stiffer fabrics justing out of the hip area. What else can I say? I've got this just to help remind me. Darker colour on top. Yeah, I think that's about it. I want to say, no, let me add that in a second. I want to make sure I don't say something out of place here. Strawberries will often say they have great legs, or maybe they'll tell me they used to have great legs. Remember, with colour, we talk about key questions I might ask, and people throw things at me. And if they say, if maybe I'm in between a strawberry and an apple and I'm trying to suss out, you know, the differences between the two, a strawberry will always say I've got great legs. I love showing off my legs. Next up, we have Fiona. We have our rectangle. So rectangles have their shoulders in line with their hips. They also wear the same size on the top often as they do on the bottom, but they don't really have all the curves. They're a lot more up and down straight, so they have little definition between the top half and the bottom half, not as much of a defined waist. They tend to have a small to average bust size, neat hips, a flat bottom. So remember, I stood sideways and checked if there was a bottom there. Often these ladies are a bit more flat on the bottom. Their styling goals are to show off their lovely skinny wrists and their ankles, giving you a bit more feminine, flattering vibe. They're going to use, I've talked about softer fabrics for previous ladies, they're going to use more structured, stiff fabrics here. Their best jeans are going to be things like skinny, slim, cargo style jeans, you know, things with structure. Depending on the size of the lady, I think the barrel jean can work here and have some fun playing with shapes and silhouettes, because at the end of the day we're talking about silhouettes here. And you can, use things like peplums to create the illusion of more shape and more curves if wanted. Then we have our apple ladies. So an apple tends to have a more slopey, rounded shoulder line. If you're someone who feels like things always fall off your shoulders, you could be an apple. You're fuller around the middle. Oh, sorry, it's the apple that has great legs. I always say strawberry. I'm dyslexic and I knew I was going to do that. It's the apple that always says she has great legs. I have to envisage a picture of an apple walking around with fabulous legs. They also have a flatter bottom. So great legs, flat bottom, roundness round the middle, and those curvy shoulders. A great tip for these ladies is to break them up into thirds. So we want to draw attention to the top third of the body and the bottom third. Think cropped trousers, straight necklines. They look great in really long line cardigans as well to create that real slender panel down the middle. So you could be wearing a patterned top, you could wear a darker cropped trouser and then have one of those really long line cardigans or a sleeveless long line sort of, I can't think of the word now, jacket. Waterfall cardigans also look really good here. The same with the strawberry. Because of her big bust, she looks really good in a waterfall cardigan. Will help break up that bust area. Anything else I can tell you about the apple? No? And then the last but not least is our athletic ladies. These ladies have a lovely broad shoulder line. They have quite narrow hips and possibly a flat bottom too. They have little definition between the waist and the hips. And if a lady says she really struggles to find trousers because she's got all that length of an adult, but her waist is so small that trying to find, if you put a 10 on her, it'll fit around the waist but come up short on the leg. If you put 12, it's massive on the top, but then she'll get the length out of it. Everyone needs a good everyone needs a good tailor. A great tailor is going to really help transform your wardrobe, and it can just be those little tweaks. If you pick up an item, I had a dress I bought, actually my husband bought me from Bodyshape, and it's bright pink silky dress. It was in my size, in the sale, and it can be dressed up or dressed down. And I just thought, oh, so dramatic and pink and me. And then it sat in my wardrobe for 1.5 years. And every time I put it on, it was the right length in the arms, right length in the legs. I think it was a 12, and it had this tie waist. Every time I put it on, it felt massive, but not massive. And it didn't work. It had pockets and everything and buttons all the way down the front. And then eventually, after 2 years, I took it to a tailor and I spent about £12 and he took the seam in at the side. I lost the pockets, but it fits beautifully. So if you're someone who has certain areas of the body that you know you struggle with, for example, the athletic with her trousers, when you're buying trousers, bear in mind that maybe the tailor is going to be there to help you with that item. So maybe you buy it second hand, maybe you buy it brand new, maybe you buy it in the sale. Whatever that price is, when you're buying it, remember that you're going to add £10 or £15, or it depends where you live, because I know some people in London have tailors and they're a lot more expensive. But if you budget that factor, instead of stopping yourself buying that item, then that's the best way forward. And that is because, yes, things cost money. Yes, it can be expensive. But if you get a pair of trousers that you're going to wear 30 times or more, that are going to look great on you, it is an investment, and it's a worthwhile investment, because otherwise you're going to spend the next 6 months buying another 15 pair of trousers trying to get it right, and probably spend more money than if you just swallowed up the cost of a tailor and had those trousers taken in. So I hope that's helped. And that applies for everyone, not just our athletics. So next up, what can I tell you? I want to talk to you all about fabric weight. Have I got the picture? No, I haven't. Right. So if I gave you 2 objects, a ball, and I gave you a box, and then I gave you 2 materials to wrap those in. So I give you some brown parcel paper and a silk scarf. Which material is going to wrap which shape best? Let me tell you, unless you can get it in the comments quickly. So if you've got the ball and you have brown paper and you try to wrap it around that ball, it's going to be difficult, it's going to be stiff, the ball's not going to look lovely and round, it's going to look bigger than it is, and it's going to look deformed from its actual shape, okay? If you take the box and you try and put the scarf on it, the silk scarf, it's going to slip and slide all around, you're not going to get those neat edges and corners, and it's going to be a mess. It's also going to look bigger and not the same shape as it actually is. So then if you swap those around and you wrap that silk scarf around the ball, it's going to go around beautifully. It's going to look silky. It's just going to look fab, isn't it? It's going to work. And if you take the brown paper bag, or brown paper wrapping paper, and you fit it on the box, it's going to go around those edges beautifully. It's going to be easy to work with. So think about this when we think about our body shapes. Athletics and rectangles, are all going to be better in slightly stiffer fabrics that give them shape and enhance them and work with what they've got. If you've got a lovely full hourglass and you pop lovely soft floaty fabrics on her, they're going to sit really beautifully. If we've got little tummy issues or little bobbly bits on our skin that we're not happy with, yes, we might need to go for a slightly heavier weight soft floaty fabric. And also the tummy area. There's a lot of people who might look better with their lovely big bottoms in a soft floaty trouser, but you need something a little bit better on the front, like a couple of pleats, for example. So here you can see this one's ever so slightly gathered, and so it's hitting my little tummy and it's hitting straight down. So there's certain things we can talk about for each individual, which will help really hide the bits that we are maybe a little bit uncomfortable with, whilst enhancing all the best bits. So let me quickly move on. Let's talk about the difference between body shape, proportion and scale. So with scale, really interesting to learn. Another key factor, and this is where we go from, let's pick a shape, one pair to another pair. So I'm going to read this for you. Our body proportions are important because knowing them helps us to create balance and ultimately decide whether to tuck it in, not tuck it in, wear a belt or not, where the hem of a top and jacket should finish, and so on. So we start to have a look at your height. If you're 5'4", under your class as petite, if that helps, and over that is not. We're going to look at if you have shorter legs, longer legs, a short rise, a high rise, which is all in this lower part of the body area. Are you better in a high rise jean, a mid rise jean, and so on. Short waisted and long waisted. Once we understand all that information, you can have two very different pairs. They'll have some similar key guidelines, but they'll also have some different guidelines between each other. So for example, if one has a short rise, she's going to wear a mid-rise trouser. If one has a long rise, she's going to wear a high-rise trouser. Equally, if she's a petite versus not being a petite, there's a couple of other key tips, styling tips there that we would give them. And then we're going to look at scale. So again, let me read. Your scale or bone structure is an important element when considering your style, as it allows you to maintain balance in your shape. Once you understand it, you can use it to create optical illusions surrounding areas of your body. So if we have someone who is petite and maybe she wears a size 10 and we put one of these massive tote bags on her and a big oversized corduroy jacket, they're all going to drown her and give her the impression of looking even smaller and more petite than she is. If you bring that bag size down and go for something of a more moderate size to small, and you put something that is maybe a small crop jacket on her with a smaller petite print, for example, it's going to fit her proportions and balance her out better. Equally, if you have someone who is maybe 5'8", maybe she's a size 14 to 16, and she wants to wear a little ditsy dotty print on a dress and wear a tiny little handbag, they're gonna sort of help give her impression of looking bigger than she is. Whereas if we go for a medium-sized dot and we upscale the size of the bag, everything is going to balance out again. And the same areas, it's anything from the print size, handbag size, and even jewellery size. But that's not to say we can't break it when we understand our style personality, which is what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. So if you've got any questions, please pop them in the comments below, or if you want to chat one-to-one, reach out to me. I do offer free style breakthrough calls. I can pop the link for those in below. And tomorrow we're going to talk all about style personality, which I'm excited about. I've pulled a load of dresses out ready for it, so we can go through each one and look at the different dresses and how they might fit. And if I remember, we will talk about body shape as I go through that as well. Maybe you can guess as you're watching. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies, and Midpoint for Women. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go check Midpoint for Women out. They are a group of women run by Fiona, and they're there to help women who are in perimenopause and menopause and need support. Coaches include a personal stylist, people talking about hair, nutrition, pelvic floor. We've had people talking about sex in there. And it's a really friendly group. There's also exercise and live calls as well, and they even become such a great community that they go out and have meetups once or twice a year too, which is always fun. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye for now.